No doubt, one of the most difficult but best things I ever did was act semi-normal enough for my girlfriend to fall in love with me and marry me 50 years ago. But I did make some mistakes early on, and I'll let you in on one. It had to do with automobiles. My first car in 1974 was a treasure of a 67 Chevrolet Impala. Beautiful car. Currently, there was one that sold, a 67 Chevy Impala, sold for $118,000. Okay? So there are whole car groups, that's all they do, are Impalas that they restore lovingly. This is the car that I had when I met my wife-to-be. Impressive. It was a nice car. But what's less impressive is that within a year, I had sold that Impala for a, drumroll please, 1971 Chevrolet Vega. Now, for the older people in the audience, there are gasps of horror. How can he be that stupid? For younger folks, you have to know that the Chevrolet Vega and the Ford Pinto at the time are still currently tied as the worst car models ever since the Model T. Okay, I mean, ever. Now, the Vega had a slight advantage because its engine tended to blow up a lot. Okay, they blew a lot of engines. But the Pinto had a tendency to have the gas tank blow up. So between the two, I'd rather have a Vega. Okay. But why? Why did I do that? It made sense at the time. You know, I mean, I could have that beautiful V8, or I could get a more economical 4-cylinder engine car like the Vega. Because just like gas prices are doing nothing but going up currently, I had a pretty good premonition that gas prices were going to surge then too. They were going to go higher and higher, way over the current 29 cents a gallon. It seemed like a good idea at the time. And I knew if there was any mechanical issue with this car, I'm a woodworking kind of guy. And if it took more than a claw hammer as a tool to fix a car, I was out of luck. But I'll tell you what, that Vega never left me stranded, not once. Besides, as an added feature, it was a hatchback, so you could put a full-size bicycle in the back in case it pooped out on you on the side of the road. You could ride home, okay? And I really wanted mechanical prowess. I wanted to learn mechanical things too, because my then girlfriend, all the men in her life as a child and adolescent and teenager were all mechanical. Okay, her biological father was very mechanical. Her stepdad at the time when we were going out owned a trucking business, and he could fix trucks along the side of the road. You know, it wouldn't have to even be in a shop, and here's Clawhammer Craig, you know, real impressive. I remember I should have paid attention to her stepfather when my folks, trying to encourage me and wanting to be more mechanical, had gifted me on my 19th birthday a Sears and Roebuck Craftsman toolbox with tools, you know, the little gray steel box with tools in it. And I remember to this day, her stepdad, nice guy, but a man of very few words, kind of muttering under his breath on seeing me unwrap the tools, going, "That's enough tools to really get him in trouble." Oh, foretelling. It almost did get me in trouble. I had a long drive at the time to a four-year college before we got married. I was still living at home, and I would drive 50 miles each way to a four-year college. And I decided with the Vega one Friday, I thought to myself, I'm going to tune that car up this weekend. Okay, nothing foreshadowing there, right? But so I go down to the auto store, and I find the cheapest set of tune-up parts on a little piece of cardboard with some instructions typed on the back with cellophane wrapped around it. It was very high quality, I'm sure. So I bought them, I brought them home, and I didn't even have any tune-up tools or anything. They said you could just kind of fudge it one way or the other and it'd be okay. And I thought, well, I can do this. Of course, this is Sunday before I have to drive 50 miles to school on Monday. Okay, so there I am in my folks' backyard tuning up the Vega. And it ran okay. I got to school the next day, doing good. The ride home was a little not so good. It was, you have to understand the route was about 5 miles across a causeway, which a causeway is like a 5-mile bridge. You just got 2 lanes of traffic, and there's no way you can get out of the lane of traffic. So you got to go. And foreshadowing too is there was an inland seaport at the end. So there's this big high bridge with a gradual, really high incline to get over the river. And even though the car wasn't running well, it had a really good rear view mirror. As I'm driving, it's popping and kind of, not sounding good at all, like I'm going to make it over the bridge. And all I can see in the rear view mirror is the hood of an 18-wheel gas tanker truck right on my bumper. Okay, and it's like, oh, please let me get home in one piece and I'll never try to fix a car engine again. And I was lucky. I was heard, and I got home safely. But it was a very loyal one-man car. And by that, I was the only man who could start it in the morning. Okay, it was a one-man car. In fact, before the end, we literally had to park it in a garage with a blanket over the engine so that I could get it started the next day without too much trouble. Okay, so keep that in mind. But on second thought, even though I was the only one person who could start the thing, there was a time when it took a second person to start the car. I'd be turning the ignition, and someone else would have to be outside with the hood open and a screwdriver that I always carried along because we needed it to cross a couple electrical connections while I turned the key, and then it would start. Okay, it was just really, cars had keys that you put it in an ignition. I could have just left the key in there. Nobody else would have been able to start it, and they were able to start it to take a joyride. How much joy could there be in driving a 71 Chevrolet Vega? Really? So not a lot of danger in that. Now, put this in relationship to this is the period of time when my wife and I are first married. My first job driving the Vega at this point was as a bill collector for a finance company, which involved many times, as in every few days, I would visit customers who were delinquent unannounced after work to try to get them to pay their bill. This seemed like a good idea at the time. But I still can't figure out. It seemed like I would be nice with my customers there, trying to collect money from them. But it always seemed like when I needed help starting the car after our visit, they were too busy to help me. I don't understand. I'd have to wait for a passerby to come by and hold the screwdriver there. But, finally got it fixed. Tragically, there came a time when my relationship with my Vega came to an end. It was that time. It came down to the Vega or my wife. And my wife was going to win that deal. Okay, so I agreed we really needed to get rid of it. But the problem with it, there was really no big deal other than the starting thing. The thing that finally put my wife over the edge on getting rid of the Vega was that Vegas tended to rust a lot. Even if you were living in a desert, they would rust anyway. And it just happened the part that rusted out was the driver's side door latch. So the door would swing open if you went around the corner, which if I was driving, I figured so I'd just tie the thing shut and it was okay. So I didn't really see the big deal. But she talked me into selling it and explained to me lovingly that perhaps everyone was not as mechanically proficient as I was. So we agreed. We took the blanket off of the Vega and drove it down to where we were going to sell it, the local junkyard. Okay, and we agreed that we would ask $50 for it, which we figured at the time was a fair price. But I remember still the look of shock, maybe not awe, but shock at least on my wife's face when we're in the junkyard office. And the really bored looking dude behind the counter says, "Well, how much do you want for it?" I said, $100. She was very surprised at me that I would double the price, but he agreed on it. It was not a problem. So that's when I noticed the Vega was sitting in the parking lot through the window there, and right next to it, foreshadowing again, was a tow truck. And so he agreed that $100 would be okay. But the guy asked me another question. "Did you start it yourself this morning?" Yeah. How would we have gotten there if the car had not started? So, our time finally ended that I figured when he asked me anything else about how was it starting? Did it start well? Obviously he knew about Vegas. Looking at the tow truck again, I figured there was really no harm in lying just a little tiny bit. And he should have known that a Vega would need a blanket over it at night to start the next morning anyway. But he had a tow truck. So when he asked me that, I was, with a honest look on my face, I could say, I started it this morning, and that was good enough. So our time with the Vega ended. Finally, unrelated, as an old man public service announcement, take a hard pass on any car you're considering buying if it has a half-used case of motor oil in the trunk. Okay, if it had a whole case of motor oil, maybe okay, but a half case, no. Drive on. Hey folks, thanks for watching my video. Please hit like and subscribe and leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. See you later.